I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast. And today we're talking about Mark Boersma. Um, I'm telling you, this guy, like Jim Bontrager says, I've never met anybody like this guy before. Like he's like you watch that video and you're like, what? Right? Um, and so I just had a massive breakthrough to this morning. Like it's interesting, isn't it? Where how often people go ahead and don't give other people credit, for things. Yeah, find that interesting. I find it interesting. What I find interesting is I like to give credit to other people, but often people don't want to go ahead and give credit, don't want me to give them credit, which is just fascinating to me.
What's fascinating about it?
Well, if somebody changes your life forever, why wouldn't they want to have credit for it?
Um, I'm not sure.
Right?
I guess that's
That's fascinating. It's like most of the time people like to be praised and wow, you're a genius, you're amazing, you're phenomenal. You're like, how do you do this? I think we need to go back a little bit. I don't know if you've watched any of the videos about my social autism, but I don't even remember how many years ago it was. Like, do you remember how many years ago it was when I was diagnosed with social autism? I think it was 7 or 8, right? Or was it longer? Anyways, anyways,
might be
it's not
longer.
important. I mean, it kind of is important because that analytic is going to get stuck on that. Like, was it 7? Was it 7 years? 7.5? 7.5 in 2 days and 10 minutes? Like, if it's not exactly the time, then it must not be real. I love the analytic. It's so weird. Like, it's just strange. Anyways, so years ago, many years ago, um, I said to my wife Rosanna, I said, I have social autism. She's like, you don't have social autism. I'm like, but I do. Like normally, normal wives go ahead and are encouraging to their husbands. I mean, at least that's my impression of him. Now, Patrick, if he was on, he might have a different perspective, but my perspective is, women are, wives are going to be encouraging to their husbands. That's my impression I get. But anyway, she's like, you don't have social autism. Well, yes, I do. And she's like, no, you don't. I'm like, well, I do actually. And she's like, no, you don't. She's like, you can't have it. I said, why can't I have it? And she's like, you've never been diagnosed with it. I'm like, what do you mean I haven't been diagnosed with it? I have too. She's like, it doesn't count when you're self-diagnosed. I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't count? Like we had been married for at least 30 years. And so you'd think after 30 years that, anyways, I'm like, well, yes, I can self-diagnose it. She's like, no, you can't. You're not a doctor. I'm like, yeah, but I'm smarter than the whole medical community. She's like, no, you're not. Like, yes, I am. Do you not remember? Like, I don't know, 3, 4, no, I was probably 7, 8 years into our marriage, and you took the kids in because they had ear infections, and they had ear infections, and you took them in, and you called me, and I'm trying to go ahead and put food on the table. I'm rushing around. I mean, I'm making it happen. Like I'm one of the, I'm a husband that's making it happen, and I got a lot of stuff, and so the last thing I need to worry about is my kids and their ear infections, right? But somehow my brain functions in a way that's very abnormal for people, it seems. When I say abnormal, I mean it actually thinks. Like my brain actually works. It actually thinks. It's not like, Legos. Like, anyways, another story. I mean, we'll get to that in just a minute. So, anyways, um, and she's like, I said, remember, remember when you took him into the hospital doctor and they said they need amoxicillin? And she's like, yeah. And I said, well, they, remember what I said? She's like, yeah. And it's like, so she's like, so I'm busting my tail off trying to put food on the table and be a dad and be a husband and provider, all the things that men have to do these days. And you got to have this unbelievable relationship with your wife and date nights and all these other crazy things. And you got to go ahead and have all this other stuff with all your kids. Like, oh, no problem there. Anyways, I'm like, yeah, we don't need amoxicillin. Like, I make a decision in an instant. Why? Because my worldview, see, my worldview gives me an edge over normal people. See, they don't understand. Normal people just don't understand. And so, I'm like, yeah, they don't need it. She's like, what do you mean they don't need it? I'm like, they don't need amoxicillin, honey. She's like, the doctors say they do. I'm like, I'm telling you, they don't. Obviously, she's not real happy because, on the seventh day, Christians are taught that, that God rested. He didn't. No, he created vitamins and doctors and medicine. I mean, that's what he did. You don't see it in the Bible, but he had to because otherwise Adam and Eve would have never lived. They had to have doctors like the body's not created, like it's not created. It's got to have vitamins, it's got to have, all this other stuff. And she was not happy with me. I mean, for all of you that have known her for not as long as I have, but if you've known her for 40 years, you think she's a sweet lady. Well, she can be sassy, let me tell you. Oh my goodness, she was sassy that day. She's like, they don't need it. They need it. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're a business guy. I'm like, honey, they don't need it. Like, I'm just telling you, they don't need it. She's like, fine. Then if we don't give it to them, then you're responsible for them going deaf. Not one of our kids went deaf. Well, a strange thing. I would have thought that that a smart wife would have said, "Holy moly, that guy's brilliant." That's what I would think. I think he knows more than the medical community does. Does she think that? No, I don't think so. Don't think so. Even after 40 years, and this is not a one-time story. This is over 40 years where the guy nails it. Like the guy absolutely knocks it out of the park on a consistent basis, smarter than the entire medical community. Like, who has a husband like that? Like, anyways, so about 10 years later, she's reading a woman's magazine and she comes to me and she's kind of sheepishly, she says, I read an article about, amoxicillin. I'm like, uh-huh. And she's like, they overprescribed it. Like, right? That's why they had tubes in their ears. Interesting. None of our kids had tubes in their ear, but all their friends did. Huh. Connecting the dots. Like last year, every year I have a new theme, and last year was, don't connect the dots. Why? Because I wanted to feel what it was like to be stupid a whole year. Like a whole year. Like, duh, I don't know why this is happening. Like, I shot myself in the foot. It hurts. I don't know why, and it's not my fault. It's the gun maker's fault. Yeah, that's the ticket. Like, cheapers. And and then you go ahead and create synthetic cocaine to give to people through doctors. What could possibly go wrong with, like, what are these poor doctors? I just feel bad for them. I just do. I do. And my youngest sister, she's a medical doctor. And I feel bad for all the medical doctors because, they call it a medical practice because they're practicing and they miss the worldview. They think they're so smart. They're not so smart. We can go down a whole path, but we won't. So, anyways, my social autism it's getting more out of control at the age of 61. I'm like, you know what? Have been thinking like for years, decades, that I'm the insane one. What if I'm not? What if all of you are? When I say all of you, I don't mean all of you, you stupid. If you're one of those people that say, he said all, he meant all, like he meant like 8 billion people, like every single one. Like if you're thinking that, you know what? It does apply to you. I don't even want it. My grandkids may watch this, so, I won't, I'm not going to say the S word or the A word. five, S word with five and then three A. Like maybe there'll be a link into something here. Okay, so this is the breakthrough that I had today. And I don't know, he's a new friend. So I don't know honestly if he wants credit. So I'm gonna say, not. I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm not gonna give him credit, but I really want to give him credit. The guy just holy cow. Like he helped me with my social autism in ways that my therapist didn't even help me with. Beth Smith, the famous therapist from Europe. Anyways, so so this guy went ahead and texted me. I asked a question this morning. Oh, it says loud environment. What do you mean loud environment? So I asked a question this morning, and it was really an interesting question. And so let me see if I can find it here. So the original question was, I'm curious, any of you have any ideas as to why, one, people black out, people come into your life and then just disappear? Like I've had that question for years. It doesn't seem like a very efficient system. I won't even get, I won't even go into the story about yesterday, but we got to do a podcast. Coolest thing, robotic milk. Like my dad, like milkers of cows, like my dad was raised on the farm. Man, would have he loved that? Like it was the coolest thing in the world. Okay. Anyways, and they just disappear. Why people won't answer questions, respond to text and emails. Thanks for any insight any of you may have on it. And Elaine, she said she doesn't mind when I give her credit. She's very different. She says people don't want responsibility. And I said, they don't want responsibility for what? And she said, anything that they don't want to be accountable for. It's like, huh, that's interesting. Then another person, and again, I don't know if he wants credit for it. So if the individual that gave me this, if you don't want credit for it, it's okay. It's okay. I'm fine giving you credit. Like this is brilliant. I've never thought of this before. Like this is absolutely insane. And my grandkids are joining me now, I think. And so this is going to be really cool. Well, hi, Micaiah.
I
Hi.
got noise notification on your watch that your noise is getting too loud. And I was like, oh, no, the call. I forgot about the call. I was like, well, it's got to be interesting if he's yelling on the call.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking I was just going to
I
do it.
need that, and I need that thing to be able to keep an eye on him because man,
These girls come in and just take over their dad's podcast. It's like their dad was just like, he was kind of thinking, hoping nobody.
I think he just kept just starting to talk to himself. So,
Here's this friend that, hi, honey. Ooh, that's pretty cute. Okay,
oh
so
my
here's
goodness,
it.
is that your new thing?
Okay, let's go ahead and focus on this. Okay, so this gentleman went ahead, a new friend of mine. I don't know which level of friend, he hasn't decided on that yet. And so he said, people are like Legos. Have any of you ever thought of people as Legos? Right? This helps a lot. This explains so so much. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. This is genius. This guy is a freaking genius. I've never thought of people like Legos before. This explains everything with a limited number of connection points for relationships. Now, this goes back to Uncle Gary, and he once said, Mark, you're unusual. A lot of people say that, and I always get curious, what am I unusual about? And he's like, your ability to have many deep relationships. So this is why I can't relate to people who are Legos, which is fine. Nothing wrong with it. I just have been looking at people totally wrong all these 61 years. Like, oh my goodness, they're a Lego. That makes sense. Relationship capacity, in other words. Relationship capacity. This brings me back to my brother Dan. He's coming into my mind a lot lately, which is really cool. He went ahead and said to me, I don't know, probably 20 years ago, we had a brothers retreat. Man, miss those a lot. Anyways, he went ahead and said, Mark, I've noticed as we get older and our kids get older and we have they have friends and everything, that you either have to get better at relationships or you have to give up friends. I'm not saying which one he chose to do, but anyways, it's really interesting. So it is not always out ill intent or malice. Like that's just weird to me a little bit. Like what would lead somebody to think the question was from ill intent or malice? Like I, I don't know. Anyways, that to me that like, why would somebody think that? Like, anyways, seasons change and connections change. Okay, I get that. Um, which forces disconnection or lowering connection points with other bricks at times. Okay. Okay, yeah, I guess if we're if we're Legos, yep, I guess, yep. I believe this is completely normal. Okay. Not in my way of thinking. In my way of thinking, like, it's funny. Years ago, I'd go and say, I'd say to my wife, I'd say, honey, I'm normal. She's like, you are not normal. I'm like, I really am normal. And she's like, you are not. And we'd have this argument, this discussion, this thing, no slamming doors, no loud voices, just, a discussion. But all the kids would be like, they're talking. I can't believe they're talking. And then they'd get all traumatized by it, which then leads to therapy and a bunch of medication. Now their whole thing, anyways. So it's like she's like, finally, she just roll her eyes. My wife would roll her eyes and say, "Fine, whatever makes you sleep at night, you're normal." I'm like, "No, honey. You know, see, God created everybody to be like I am. I'm just living in His design." Now, if you're thinking that sounds arrogant, I now know why. I never knew why before. Like, why would you think that? I now know. Oh, you're a Lego. Like, oh, like you're a Lego. That makes it makes so much sense. Like, I'm like, you're a Lego. Like, that's what Legos do. Like, that is so cool. You're a Lego. Got it. Okay. Um, it does not mean saying goodbye to those relationships, but lowering frequency of engagement may be completely normal in the flow of life, depending on where and who God has called you to live, work, and interact. This then he says my 2 cents. I don't think this was 2 cents. I think this was, million, 2 million. This thing explains so much. Like, so Legos. There's one Lego. There's one with one connection, and there's some that have two, and some that has six. But a Lego is always a Lego. It's always a Lego until you get a 3-year-old. So I said for years, I'm like a 3-year-old. And it makes sense now. And all the people around me are Legos, and all I'm doing is putting the pieces, just connecting all the Legos together. And then it's like, then I responded a little while later after I had some time to process it, which was just absolutely phenomenal. I have to admit, I've never thought of people like Legos. Man, does this help me? My social autism makes it so hard, but this makes it so much sense. Like Mark, all you just don't think of people as people. I mean, don't. That's where you're making your mistake, Mark. Like that's your mistake is you're thinking people are like creating God's image, like infinite. Like he's creating God's image. Like it's like I think like he knit them together in their mother's womb. There's no two people alike. There are Legos. There's, there's a lot of Legos that are alike. A lot of people seem to be alike, but I never understood that. I never understood. Like I never understood Like I struggle. Social autism is so painful. Oh, my therapist helps me with that. Anyways, um, some logos are two, some are, are a 4 or 8 or even more, but they all are whatever they are, and that's what they will, ever be. Well, unless a 3-year-old boy is present, then together they are a lot more, or can be anything the 3-year-old wants them to be. Hmm. The podcast today is going to be interesting. It's just, to me, it's just fascinating. Like, it's like, that is so cool. Like, that, like, oh, they're just a Lego. They're just a Lego. Now, if you're a little weird, if you have some level of autism, social autism yourself, you're probably thinking, Mark, isn't that sad? And maybe this is why, people don't like me to give them credit, because maybe, maybe like when I give them credit, I'm like, that's genius. That is genius. That helps me immensely. Like, oh, you're an 8 Lego. Like that'll be my new thing. You're this Lego, you're that Lego. You just are what you are. It is what it is. And it's like doesn't seem like I don't know if Legos were creating God's image. Like, thinking maybe not. I mean, a human being made them, but they don't grow on their own. They don't come up. They don't change. They're locked into what they're locked into, and it's like, so I get it. They're Legos. I can't see how that is honoring to one's creator. But again, I get it now. Like it's like, and so if I give the person credit, then the person might say, that's not what I was saying, Mark. Like you're twisting my words. You said Lego. I didn't say Lego. You said Lego. Like you said. Like that's what you said. Well, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean, well, what did you mean? Well, I didn't, I up, 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 up. No, what you said is what you meant, and what you meant was what you said was absolutely profound beyond comprehension. I mean, absolutely profound. Why are you laughing? like,
I'm just, I'm just imagining someone randomly coming in this call. I mean, like, what is this? What is this dude saying? And then just hopping off really quick. Like, I haven't kept an eye on it, so I hope you have, because like some random guest could just come on and be like,
who
He
cares?
didn't even notice when I got on, so
What do you mean? How could I not notice? You both came on and started talking and
I
messing up
was on for a good 5 minutes, 5, 10 minutes
my
before she
Lego
was.
story, my Lego story. Like I wanted to get to my Lego story and the social autism. It's all
you got
connecting. Like this, I
there.
see the city now. Like this is
Pedro is
I've got this great idea. Okay, Papa's got this great idea. This
I
great
think we
idea.
decided that Grandpa's finally cracked.
This is gonna be so cool, honey. What Grandpa can do is start carrying around Legos in his pocket.
no. What?
Yeah, I can start carrying around Legos in my pocket. And then when somebody's like a 2 Lego, I can pull out a 2 and say, this is for you. Why are you giving me this? Well, I thought you could relate to it and connect to it. You know. And if they're really smart, they could get 8 point
Daddy.
Lego.
Yeah. Say Grandpa's finally cracked.
Now, if any of you are, if any of you are
Yeah.
concerned, then hey, Mikey, if any of you are concerned about my grandkids, disrespecting me, they don't. Not when they're younger, at least they don't, because they.
Right.
I know we could do Legos. Like Mikey, you could go ahead and have Legos in your pocket. You could go up and say, "I think you're an 8 Lego person."
Well, he does
Ooh,
like to carry things in
There's
his
another
pocket.
text
So
about the Legos in there.
what's that?
You just
Oh,
got another text about the Legos. Might want to
But
use it.
But here's the creepy thing, okay? You're sitting here, I have you on speaker talking about Legos, okay? And I go on Facebook, and what's the first ad that comes up?
That's not creepy. That's just AI. No, they're doing that. Patrick says that too. He talks about narcissism. He's like, Mark, you're not narcissistic. I'm like, okay. I I don't mind being called narcissistic. I can be anything. And so, people like you when you're narcissistic, but that's another podcast for another time. I mean, not your spouse or your children or anybody close to you. They don't like you, but strangers love you like crazy because they're like, I wish I could be as silly as Mikey's grandpa. I wish I could be as silly. I wish I could have as many adventures as Micaiah and Elena have. Like we can build whole cities with Legos. So again, I have a feeling this is going to be Ooh, Grandpa could do a Lego movie. Yes, we could do a Lego movie. Anyways, hopefully this is helpful to you as you get to know Mark Boersma better. Jim Bontrager's right. He just is. You've never met anybody like this guy. If you're wondering, that's kind of weird. Like, why is he talking about himself in third person? I learned that from my oldest grandson. So Daniel, like, I'm like, he did that. I don't know. I don't hear him doing that much anymore, but he did it up until 6 or 7 years old. And I'll never forget. He's like, Daniel's not happy with you, Grandpa. I'm like, that's kind of weird. He's talking about himself in third person. And I said, well, Grandpa's not happy with you, Daniel. So I started talking in third person. Then I thought, why do young kids talk in third person? And is it really, it's not insane. They're not insane. It's very powerful when you learn to do that. It just is. So hopefully this has helped you to better understand. This could be another chapter in the Mark Boersma for Dummies book. Like, I don't know. I guess if you want to be a Lego, be a Lego. Like, it's fine. You get free will, be a Lego. You know, once I said to one person, I said, you're just like God. They were not happy with that. But they think when they say something, it's true. Anyways, and I said, you're the same yesterday, today, and forever. like, like that's well, that's not what we really mean. So I don't know. This is gonna be fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I don't share this with your friends. I'm just telling you, don't. If you do, they're gonna think you're weird. They're gonna think you're really, really, really strange. Don't share it. Please don't share it with anybody.